Hello and welcome to Glendale Community College Speaker Series. We're excited to have you join us live from home. My name is Lindsay Walker. I'm the Experiential and Community-Based Learning Coordinator from GCC's Career Services. Today, we're looking forward to talking with our second speaker of our Fall 2021 College to Leadership Series. Our goal is to get different perspectives from industry leaders to share their leadership experience and transformation. Before we get started, just to let our audience members know, please feel free to add questions in the comment section on YouTube, and we can include those towards the end before we close out time with our guest speaker today. To kick it off, my colleague Izel is going to introduce today's guest speaker.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Tschana. This afternoon, we are so excited to have Tschana Schiller, who is a sports science director for Action Endurance Support Sports at US Ski and Snowboard. In this role, she oversees impactful sports science projects and initiatives that aid performance during the World Cup, World Championship, and Olympic competitions for freestyle, free ski, snowboard, and Nordic disciplines. Tschana has spent the past 15 years of her career at US Ski and Snowboard, getting her start as a strength and conditioning intern, then team and senior physiologist, and eventually moving into department management roles as strength and conditioning coordinator and athletic department manager. In these roles, she has overseen physical preparation and athletic development programs to cross-country aerials, snowboard cross, snowboard half pipe, I cannot talk today, and slope style, Nordic combined, and women's alpine. Tschana has been a part of our 4 Winter Olympic cycles, including the 2010 Vancouver Games, and most successful to date for US Ski and Snowboard with 21 medals. Prior to her time at US Ski and Snowboard, Tschana lived in Flagstaff, Arizona, and attended NAU. She played soccer for the university while completing her degree in exercise science. She also spent her time after her college soccer career working in the NAU weight room as an undergrad assistant coach. Tschana currently lives in Park City, Utah with her husband Matt, daughter Hazel, and dog Lefty. They spend most of their time skiing and snowboarding, mountain biking, rafting rivers, and exploring the deserts of Utah.
Thanks, Izel, and welcome to Tschana. That was a little bit of a tongue twister, but it's great to have you join us today. Kind of loosens us up a little bit. So, Tschana, before we dive into learning a little bit more about your leadership knowledge and just career background, we'd like to get to know you a little bit more. And so, one way that we like to do that was some rapid fire questions. So, these are quick and fun questions that you can answer with the first thing that pops into your head. Are you okay with that?
Oh boy, I'm ready, I think.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's start off with this. Which travel destination is your favorite?
Ooh, rivers. Any river.
Yeah, it sounds like it with the rafting. That sounds so fun.
Grand Canyon, I have to say.
Oh my gosh. Epic. Legendary. Which leader do you admire the most?
Ooh, lately, the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh, yeah. Great one. What is one positive thing that you do on a daily basis?
I try to eat full and speak aloud of what I'm grateful for on a daily basis.
Oh, I love that. I want to start doing that. Speaking of food, what is your favorite food?
Ooh, anything spicy.
Really?
It's got to have some heat.
Give us like an example, because what kind of spice? There's different levels of spice. We're in Arizona, so we got to hear it.
I mean, I like it all. I'm good with any hot sauces. Bring it spicier the better. I love curries. I love oh gosh. I mean, it's not like sriracha's spicy, but it literally goes on everything I eat. Just anything. It's got to have some punch, you know?
So good. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. It has to be like the good spicy too, right? Where it's like spicy enough, your nose is running, but like not hot enough where you could continue to wanting more and eating it.
Yeah.
That's a good range. Okay. Last little rapid fire question for you, Tschana. Fill in the blank. In one word, leadership is
service.
Oh, wow. Great job. Take a deep breath. We've done kind of the impromptu part.
Some water.
The stress.
Oh, you
It's
did
so
great.
funny.
So
I think you might have been, I think our last speaker might have also said service for their response. So I know someone else has. So it's great to hear that as well. So I know I gave a very I did have some tongue twisting moments when I was providing a little bit about your background, which is amazing, by the way. When I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for her to speak to our students and our audience. But we'll go ahead and kick off the first question. So if you could maybe yourself tell us a little bit about yourself and your current position.
Sure. Yeah, no, that was quite a tongue twister. There's a lot of ski and snowboard disciplines in there that get all wrapped up together. So yeah, as you had mentioned, I went to Northern Arizona University. So I actually went to school with Lindsay, which was really fun, and have a special place in my heart for Arizona. Got my degree in exercise science when I went there, and I was actually going to stick around, and I was working in the weight room and kind of getting my feet wet in coaching, doing some strength conditioning. I had some mentor coaches that coached me in soccer, and they were like, "Well, if you're not quite sure what you're going to do in exercise science, why don't you, spend a little bit of time in the weight room," which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I was going to get my master's at NAU when I had also applied for an internship with US Ski and Snowboard, and I got the internship, so that sent me off to Park City, put my master's on hold. Long story short, never actually went back to get it. The internship turned into essentially 2 years of a very applied sports science internship, which, looking back now, I think that might have been it was a different journey than going to get another degree, but very, very applied in high performance and sports science, and I think that was really, really useful. So that at the end of that, it turned into a job, and I took the job. And I have been here ever since. So US Ski and Snowboard is located in Park City, and we basically look over all the ski and snowboard disciplines for the Winter Olympics. Besides, biathlon has their own, and ski jumping has their own, but most of the others. And yeah, there's 4 or 5 of us athletic development coaches on staff, and work in a very, very high achieving, high performance department, and very, very fortunate and humbled to work with some phenomenal athletes, not only athletes, but really great human beings. So that's kind of a quick gist of, yeah, the last 15 or so years.
that's amazing. And I want to circle back around to your internship later on in our conversation because that's something we do here through our career services department. And so it's been really impactful for you. But you mentioned that you work with high achieving, high performing individuals. So I'm really curious, what does success mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think success ultimately for me means that you're kind of living your purpose and your why, which is very, very individual. So for me, it's knowing my values, what drives me, and I don't believe that anybody should really define what success means for you. It's very personal, and so I think it's important to understand what drives your happiness and what helps you find purpose. So for me, success means that I'm contributing to society, giving back, making a difference with my time here on this planet. And then right now in my current role, that means working with athletes and helping them not only develop, in their uh, performance as humans as well. I think as a coach, you have a really interesting relationship with athletes, and you have a big part in building that. So giving back, it also means that I'm able to do the things that I love and to live a life that brings enjoyment, to work a job or career that fulfills me and contribute and give back. But most importantly for me, be present with my family, spend a lot of time with them, because time is really the most valuable asset we have. So yeah, some people that success might mean making their way up to CEO or making a lot of money or giving back to society. So I think it's different for each one. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how I define success in my life.
Awesome. It's a great definition. And I'm also kind of curious because you do a lot of coaching, right? And you're working with a lot of athletes. And so, I mean, this whole series is on leadership. So how do you, as a coach, coaching, leader, mentoring, they're all kind of different, but what does it mean to be, to you, what does it mean to be a leader?
Yeah. Well, I mean, going back to the word that I said, service, I think I always kind of come back to that. Um, that you're there to serve others. It's about caring. Leadership is really, really hard, and some people are kind of natural leaders, and they bring out the best in others. They're able to inspire people and influence, and it's not about motivating, but creating environments that ignite each person's own motivation. So you have to really get to know people. So in a coaching situation with the athletes I coach, every athlete on the team, they're very, very different. So trying to spend a lot of time understanding what makes them click, what motivates them. The little things are important, like where they're from, their brothers and sisters, like understanding people. I lead part of the department as well. And so again, it's important for me to make sure I understand what my staff wants in their career and their life, and trying to basically set them up for success, putting others before yourself, giving others a credit, finding opportunities to let those people that you lead shine. So I, th- I think one of the coolest things about being a leader is that nobody needs to make you a leader. Anybody can be a leader. It doesn't require a title. So yes, my title is director and I oversee people, but that doesn't mean people are going to follow me or listen to me or be inspired by me. And we really try to create an environment here at US Ski and Snowboard, especially with our department, that like no matter what level you are, if you're coming in as an intern or if you are the high performance director, we want to help you grow into being your own leader. Because yeah, a title doesn't necessarily make you a leader. But yeah, I don't know. Does that kind of sum it up? That was a
Yeah,
lot.
no, we love that. That's actually been a very common thing that has come up with a lot of the leaders that we speak to, which for me, I really love because I think it's really important for our students to hear that, right? Like being a leader a title doesn't define an individual as a leader. It's just that anybody can be a leader and in all sorts of different capacities. So yes, right. I loved it, and it's kind of been a very common thread that we've been hearing from a lot of other leaders, which is great. So thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah, I was just sitting here being inspired, like, wow, she's an incredible leader. Just listening to her talk about what it means to be a leader. I think just you emulate that. And since I've known you, you've always been a really humble leader and a natural one. So you get credit on that. So,
Thanks,
um,
Lindsay.
so I know that journeys are, to whatever degree or whatever you're trying to achieve is not always the easiest. So can you share a little bit about barriers that you've had along your journey, and that could be career journey, personal, whatever you feel comfortable sharing?
Sure. Um, Boy, yeah. If I took it to kind of the career path, I'd say, I got into exercise science at Northern Arizona, and originally I wanted to kind of take it into medicine and or physical therapy, things like that. Um, there were definitely a few barriers. I think originally there was at one point I wanted to be an athletic trainer, but I was playing soccer, and at that point in Northern Arizona, they wouldn't let you do an athletic training degree and be a student athlete, which was interesting. So I kind of had to choose, like, I'm going to give up soccer while I have it. And then when I decided that I wanted to go into strength conditioning, um, I I definitely recall there were a few professors that were like, kind of, why would you want to go that route? Maybe didn't feel like it was a very viable career path, or didn't maybe know enough about it. So I didn't necessarily feel super supported, and I said, like, no, you should go into cardiac rehab instead. You should go into this, and I was like, I really like this path. So a couple things that I had to yes, I'm pretty persistent, so I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do anyway. I like it, so I'm going to do it. Um, so some things that could have been a little discouraging, but yeah, found a way to push through anyway. I'd say in strength conditioning, especially when I first started, it is certainly was a pretty male dominated career path. Maybe it still is, although there are a lot of absolutely outstanding female coaches that have broken through into professional sport, NBA, NHL, like everything. Um, and so that's definitely changing. But so yeah, I'd say it wasn't very well represented in like females when I first started. Thankfully, I had really, really good mentors. Many of them were men and believed in me, helped me grow into the profession. Um, and then once I got into it, even in my career here, I coached some male teams, and there's barriers like, well, you're a female coaching me in weightlifting. Again, these were like early things. It doesn't happen as often now, but probably had to like spend a little bit more time showing I knew what I was talking about. I cared about what they were doing. It's like, what's this small little petite female know about lifting these big weights? I felt that. So those are a couple things. Maybe it took a little longer to get to this stage than it would have, but yeah, I just definitely am probably a little too stubborn and persistent at times, but it got me to here. So
Persistent
Awesome.
sounds like that is your strength.
Yeah. And in your response that you just shared, you said that you had maybe a few people that helped mentor you along the way. And so I'm kind of curious, has there been a person who you felt had a tremendous impact on you as a leader? Someone that has mentored you, and how did that person impact your life?
yeah, there's been a handful for sure. I guess two maybe I'll talk about. One was one of my strength coaches at Northern Arizona. That was my strength coach in the weight room when I was a soccer player, and he really really took me under his wing and helped me kind of break through into the profession. Not only as a mentor, but even like as a sponsor. Like he really went out of his way to use his connections and vouch for me and um, help me break through, which was really really useful because I think it could have been a lot harder. Another great leader, one of my previous bosses here at US Ski and Snowboard. He's actually the vice president of high performance, I believe is his title at the Milwaukee Bucks now. And he's not only a leader, but a mentor also. He always had this like amazing vision for our organization, and he truly cared about. At least it felt like he cared about each person under his, umbrella, under his wings, their progress, my path. Really helped me develop. Super authentic person, honest, cared. Like I think that kind of keeps coming up because that's really huge. Like caring, truthful, but also took the steps to help me grow and help me learn from my mistakes. He would have the hard conversations when they needed to happen, which I think is really important, and would hold you accountable, and listen. And so those are a couple of the individuals that really have helped me in my career and helped me to see the kind of leader that I would like to be. So I try to kind of mimic that or use the positive things saw in their leadership.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think it's a good reminder, the importance of making connections and building relationships, right? Oftentimes, I know when I was a student, I was a commuter student. So I never lived on campus or did anything like that. So I went to class and then left, and I didn't really engage too much. But especially when you talked about that your first mentor, it's a reminder of how important it is to establish really good relationships, right, with your faculty and your instructors, and build those connections because they could be really valuable mentors and help you get more connected. So that's a really great reminder, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, most definitely. I agree.
So, on that line of mentorship too, You may have already mentioned what you will say in this answer, but why do you think our students are attending college mostly for 2-year degrees and then they transfer or they get a certificate and go on, but why do you think our students should seek mentoring even if it's like a short-term academic journey?
Yeah, and I think it's always important to have people that you can talk to, bounce ideas off of, that can be truthful and honest with you, help you see different perspectives. I think it's really cool to, have people that think like you, but also to seek out some of those that have totally different perspectives and diverse perspectives and give you, I mean, there's so many different ways, to do things and to get places. But yeah, I think I definitely recommend starting early and kind of creating a network, and you might like find some mentors and be like, all right, this is the right mentor for me, but like it always kind of evolves and changes. And so those ones are, you want the people that are in your court that can help you out along the journey. If I hadn't, uh, Ernie was the one at NAU. His name is Ernie Reimer, and he was more not only a mentor but a sponsor, but he got my foot in the door to help me get the internship that I have here. And I'm not sure I would have gotten it on my own. I think it just would have been a huge, like, maybe eventually, like, years and years and years, so I kept trying, but he was insanely influential in helping me get that and use his connections. And so I think it's really important to step out. And I wish, if I had anything to learn from, it took me a while to understand that, like, I think it's important to do it early. I always thought, like, I'm gonna sit back and things are just gonna happen. And thankfully things did fall into place. But now when I look at it, I'm like, I want things that I need to go make it happen and reach out and ask people. Like, you never know, like, ask people, like, hey, I'm looking for this. Hey, I'm doing, like, I have a little quick side story. I have a colleague right now. He used to work for us. He doesn't now. And he puts it out there on what he's like, I know what I want to do. I know at this point this is what I'm going to be. I am starting here, but he tells everybody, like, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to be, and they're like, okay, well, you want to come to these meetings and I'll let you kind of see what it's like to be in that setting. And then it just kind of keeps rolling, and I have no doubts that he's going to achieve what he's looking out for, because he personally puts it out there and tries to go get it and has made massive connections. And those people are like, yeah, wow, somebody who knows what they're looking for, knows what they want to do. We're gonna help you out. So yeah, I think it's hugely important to start that off.
Yeah, I got really excited when you were sharing that side story because it's essentially what they're doing is like planting the seed, right? And I think that's so valuable and so important because people don't know how to help you or don't know how they could help you if they don't really know where you want to go or what you need, right? And so the only way to do that is to put it out there. And so essentially what's happening is they're planting the seeds, and now they know that this person has an interest. So I'm assuming that if something comes across their way, they'll probably think of that person because that person told them that this is what they're looking for. This is the types of experiences that they're looking for. So I love that side story because it's a great reminder that, sharing your goals and what you hope to do with as many people as possible, that's essentially helping them build connections. But it could lead to so many other opportunities because now they know, like, okay, this is Izel's goal. This is what she's interested in. Oh, I just came across this. Like, this might really be something Izel might be interested in. So I love that little side story that you share because I'm like, oh, that's such a good. And I think sometimes some people don't really think about like sharing their goals with a lot of people, right? It's just doesn't, maybe it comes off as being not come off being, maybe it's just a little unnatural for people to speak so much about what their interests are, what their goals are, right? So
Yeah. And I guess there have been times when I have not shared my goals or what I'm trying to work on, because in a way in the past I'm like, well, if I put this out there, then if I don't achieve them, or if I like fail at this, then I
right.
just put that out there. But that's part of the process, like,
Yeah,
that's hugely
exactly.
important. So Yeah,
Yeah, I love that
I wish
because
I would
you're
have done
right.
that early.
A lot of people are afraid of saying it out loud because they're afraid of failing, but sometimes you have to say it out loud. So yeah, it's a great reminder of that.
Yeah, I love that manifesting kind of what you want to happen, just speaking it out loud. And you really never know what networking, what connections that will take you or where that will take you. So thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
I have, I'm looking at my notes also. When you were defining success, that you kind of mentioned like it's kind of living through your purpose, right? So how do you feel like you found your purpose? Like, and when was that moment where you're like, yeah, this is it. Like, I am living my purpose. Like, this is what I am made to do. And this is what makes me so happy.
Yeah, man. It didn't just pop up in my head. It has taken time and a process, and I think that's natural. I think there are some people that are like born that they know exactly what they're gonna do. That wasn't me, and it's taken some time to kind of understand like where I'm at in my life in the process, and where where I stand in the world, and what my impact will be. Early on, like I had a one track mind on sport. That was it. And I feel like I was experimenting a little. I didn't quite know when I was in at university, like, did I want to be a PT or an athletic trainer or go to med school or, strength conditioning door kind of open. I was like, that's interesting. So I was kind of experimenting with all those things. Um, but yeah, no, it's grown, it's built throughout my time here, especially. Whether or not I remain a coach my whole life, I think you know, my why, my purpose is broad enough that no matter where I go, like I'm gonna find a job that if I'm again contributing to the betterment of society, then and that could be in a slew of different jobs. Like right now, it's in athletics and it's in working with these athletes, and again, caring for who they are as a person first. Like, yes, I care about if they want to win an Olympic gold medal and that's their goal and their dream, I'm gonna do everything I can to help them achieve that. And if they want to make the team and just be a better, snowboarder and be able to do a bigger trick, and that's their whole goal. So I find value in like trying to understand what those individuals are looking for, what they're doing. But yeah, I would say it has taken time to develop, and I've thought about it a lot throughout life, and you reflect and you write and you're like, what are my values? What drives me? Why am I doing what am I doing? Like, why am I at this job? What do I love about this job? Why am I passionate about? Why do I show up every day at work? Why am I still here? And of course, if like the job doesn't suit those things, then that's the time when you like sit back and reflect. Well, maybe it's time for me to move on and try something different. But I think if you're really um, understand yourself first, which again can take a long time. Maybe I would say it's going to change again because we grow and change. It's just constant, but still kind of just evolving and knowing what your passion is. And yeah, don't get frustrated if you don't know it right off the bat because it took me a while, and I'm sure it's going to change again. But we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I think just evolving, just learning who you are throughout that whole change process yeah, you have to be very aware. And you're so wise, Tashana. And I think that you've already shared so much wisdom with us, but I do want to target in a little bit. What wisdom would you share with our students who are completing their degree and embarking on their leadership journey? Any kind of like tips or advice?
Yeah. Thank you for that compliment, Lindsay. I think you're very wise, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm as wise as you think I am, but I'm glad I'm coming off that way. Um, Boy, just to reflect, I guess, on some of the things we've talked about. Um, it could be a leader for sure. And again, I think you don't need a title to do that. Know yourself, take the time, continue to grow and learn more about ourselves and through experiences, right? Like that's how we kind of develop and grow. But knowing yourself is really is a prerequisite to, having good self-esteem and leadership eventually. So knowing your values, knowing your why, um, finding opportunities to develop your leadership skills. If they're out there, and there are, taking those opportunities when they come. And if if they aren't showing up, like, go seek them out. You got to do a little work yourself too, for sure. But reach out. Like I said, I waited way too long to kind of reach out, and so I think that that's kind of key. Like, put it out there. Like Lindsay said, manifest. Your destiny. Leaders, I think, can be abundant in a way, but problem solvers, maybe not as much. So be a problem solver. Um, I think that's really huge. Is that, like, there's always issues that come up, but the ones that are like, okay, here's an issue, here's a barrier. Let's figure out some solutions to solve it. That's really useful. And people notice that, and they're like, I want that person on my team because they're a problem solver. And find your mentors. Know your goals, build relationships, put yourself out there. And if, like, I'm an introvert personally, so that's not natural for me to do that. And so having people, like I said, that in my network that can, like, help me break through, that was really, really big. And it took a while to know that, like, I am an introvert, and that's not my forte to go into big social situations and be like, hey, I'm Tschana and this is what I do. And, so yeah, finding a network and a support system to help you, that'll help you, and participate in your career growth.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so you talked about the whole, be a problem solver. And so I'm kind of curious because, being a leader, it's not always rainbows and unicorns, right? Like, as a leader, we have to come across some challenging things and we have to problem solve. So, like, how do you as a leader kind of manage those moments where you might have to, be a problem solver? Like, what gets you through, or how do you approach situations that are a bit more challenging? Because being introverted, right? Sometimes, it's hard to sit down and have that conversation with people, or not even introverted, because, or maybe it's people that are maybe not non-confrontational, right? Like, sometimes it's hard to have those conversations with individuals, but they're much needed conversations, right? So how, as a leader, do you, address situations like that? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I wasn't formally educated in leadership. That wasn't, like, part of an exercise science degree. Um, I guess maybe naturally, as as, like, just a human going through life, like, I I've kind of been a leader in that way. But now that I'm in, like, formal roles as a leader, I've noticed where my weaknesses are. I'm like, whoa, like, I have not been educated on I need to develop my leadership skills better, because I do care about the people that I'm in charge of, athletes with. So I personally have recognized that and either taken courses. um, I read a lot, so rather than spending the last couple of years continuing to read on athletic development strategies and such, I've kind of shifted into more leadership, because I'm like, I want to get this right. um, but then also, when a situation comes up, and they do every single day. 2 hours ago, I was in a different room with another individual having a challenging conversation, uncomfortable conversation. That's part of the goal. That's part of the job, right? And even if it's not my role, like, again, like, anybody can. We try to develop this, like, group of leaders here. Anybody can step in and uh, have these conversations. So they come up, and I try to take the time early on to gather myself, practice, rehearse, understand where I want to go with it. You have to be a really, really solid listener. Like, listening skill is so important. Speak less, listen more. I've learned that I don't need to get an answer right then. Sometimes I can go home and, like, I'm gonna you mind if I take this home and sit on this and think about it? And a lot of times I come back and I might not even give an answer. I might just try to ask better questions, next time. So yeah, those are, and I suppose lastly, like I try to take it like every one of those opportunity or every time one of those conversations is an opportunity to learn and get better. So I try to sit in it and reflect on after and like, how did I have that conversation? Well, was that, this was a crucial conversation. How did it go? What did I learn? What could I have done better? What's the outcome? Like reflecting on it, learning, and know that like I'm still gonna make mistakes. I'm by no means perfect and never will be. But again, hopefully that person I'm sitting with knows that I really care, and we're trying to get to the same place eventually. But yeah, going out and learning it. If you don't know it and you're in those situations, go learn about it. Get the skills, take courses, read books, listen to podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, those are great pieces of advice because you're right. There's some people that are trained in leadership, right? And then there's other people that are just kind of, I don't want to say thrown in, but kind of come into these leadership roles without maybe that level, that type of training or maybe educational background or whatever it might be. But it's that determination of, okay, well, let me learn about this, whether it's through reading books or listening to whatever. So yeah, that's a great reminder because I know when I've worked with people, I've heard people kind of going through that experience, right? Where they didn't necessarily have the tools, but they figured it out, which is always a good thing. And knowing that as a leader, you may not always, or anybody may not always have all the answers, but it sounds like what the most critical, at least from what I heard, is having that foundation of like trust and respect and care for an individual at the end of the day, and really being open to listening is really important as you lead others. So great, thank you.
Yeah, Tschana, thanks so much for just sharing with us. We did have a couple questions come in from the YouTube chat. Are you ready to take some impromptu questions here?
Sure.
Okay, so the first one is, what is one decision you wish that you did not make, so didn't make? If any. I guess the answer could be none.
Oh no, I know there's plenty. The on the spot ones. Something that's coming to mind, maybe. Oh yeah, that I wish I did not make. Like a action I wish I did not make, or something that I
Yeah.
look back at.
Is there something like
Yeah.
throughout your career journey that you're like, man, I wish I didn't do that?
Oh yeah.
Whether it was a waste of time or like, is there anything that comes to mind?
I'd say, okay, I was thinking differently on like not a waste of time, but an action or something that I did that I look back like a mistake that I made.
That's fine, yeah.
At one point working here, I was in charge of the snowboard half pipe team, and I came in as an athletic development coach a little hot-headed as like I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about, which clearly I did not, because the more that I learned, the more I realized I know nothing, and you just continue to gradually learn as you go on. So, but you come in early, you get out of school, I know things. Here, I was with them, and culturally, snowboarding is a lot different than some of our other disciplines. And I'm a snowboarder at heart, so I was like, sweet, can't wait to work with them. But I also came in like, hey, like we're here, we're gonna work our tails off, and this is the way we're gonna do it. And I was sitting there talking to athletes who were already X Game champions, Olympic medalists, the best in the world at what they do. And I definitely came off as like, well, I know more than you, and here's what we're going to do, and I'm going to take you to the next level. And if you're not going to like commit to the strength conditioning program, like it just was the absolute wrong approach. Like it failed miserably, and thankfully, I suppose, because I learned a lot from that time. And there were a lot of, here at US Ski and Snowboard, our athletes are not required to work with us. So, which is different, say, in a collegiate environment when I worked at NAU. Like, if you're on the volleyball team, you're going to be in the weight room, you're going to be at practice, you're going to be doing all these things. They're required to work with you. Our athletes, if they're sponsored by Red Bull and they want to work with a coach from Red Bull, they can go work with a coach from Red Bull. If they want to work with a coach at the local gym, they can work with a coach at a local gym. If they want to work with somebody off of YouTube, they can work with whoever. So I went in and definitely took the wrong approach. Should have spent more time listening, understanding their sport. I don't do their sport. I'm already talking to athletes who are some of the top athletes in the world at what they do. And I lost a lot of those athletes. They decided not to come onto my program. And I had to work really hard with the ones that were like, all right, well, I'm still going to give you a chance. Thankfully, I had one who was and still is one of the greatest snowboard halfpipe athletes legendary athlete. And she gave me a year. She's like, all right, I'm going to give you a year. Thankfully, we built a relationship, and I helped her throughout the weight room, and we built this trust. And we continued that for the rest of her career. But I look back, that's one of the things I talk to when our interns do come in for strength conditioning, and I'm like, reel it back a little bit, learn from my mistakes, because you can have the world's greatest program, the world's greatest whatever, but if you haven't built a relationship, if you can't connect with that person, it doesn't mean anything. And that was my kind of my one shot with a lot of them, and I went in and I lost a lot of them from the get-go. And so my approach has changed dramatically since, and I definitely approach those situations a lot differently now.
That makes sense. Yeah, you've been at this for what, 15 years with US ski and snowboard? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So another question ties into that. You've learned a lot, you've failed forward, you've continued on, you've persisted. But what's something that you wish someone had told you during your career journey?
Great question. Oh boy, trying to think here. I wish a couple things. I wish somebody would have told me to ask questions, and maybe they did. They probably did, and I was like way too scared to ask, because I thought that once I'm already like in the job that I should know everything. And so when I didn't know something, I was too nervous to ask. And I think it's really important to show vulnerability, even as a leader. Like, I will ask my staff. I'm surrounded by people on my staff that are way smarter than me and way better at what they do. And that's, for me to go to them, like, shows how much you care about what their knowledge is. Their opinion is important, and you want to know, and to also know where you're like, it's okay. Like, I came in thinking that I had to know everything, and so I didn't ask enough questions. That was big. And maybe people told me, but I just felt like, oh wow, like I should know this. I should be the professional. I should, but that's certainly not the case. And I think I've learned that throughout, my time, and especially now in more of a leadership role, that when I hire people, I want to hire people that know way more than me, because that only helps me grow and me be better, and different perspectives, like we talked about. And we encourage disagreement, because if there's a thing, really not like getting anywhere. Like, you have to have healthy disagreement and diverse perspectives on the table so that you can progress and be better. So yeah, that's my answer to that one.
Awesome. Well, time flies when we're having fun. We're already hitting at 45 minutes. I'm like, how is that even possible? I guess you've already kind of, I think we don't have any more questions yet of our audience, unless anybody else has them. Feel free to throw one out there. But just to kind of conclude, you have already shared with us, some wisdom that you can share with our students, which has been really great. But I also see this recording being shared with specific faculty and programs that really have an interest and a passion kind of in the area that you, or the industry that you're working in. So for students that are very much interested in the world of, athletics, what do you think are key to developing the next generation of leaders in your world and in that industry?
Yeah, I think, yeah, good question. I kind of thought about this different way. Um, I'd say if you want to get into athletics, or strength conditioning, or work in professional sport in high performance or sports science, obviously, it's what we look for when we, hire. You got to have the background, you got to have the education, experience, and getting experience. I think that's one of the hardest parts sometimes, is like actually getting that first experience. You do have to put the time in, and do the dirty work sometimes, and like spend your time, you know, coaching, volunteering, uh, doing internships. It goes back again to reaching out, and asking if you can, like, I'm interested in this. Do you have space for me to observe, to be a part? So I'll get emails and people reaching out from universities like, hey, I'm interested in this. Can I come to US Ski and Snowboard and spend a day with you guys? And more often than not, we're like, absolutely, please come. Um, Keep an eye out for, any of those internship opportunities as they come up, because um, they really give you, great applied knowledge in the field. And look for the ones that, like for me, I've specifically in strength conditioning, and I think it's like back in the day, it's like you're going to be a strength conditioning intern and you're basically going to put the weights away and sweep the floor. Like, find the ones that are going to give you more responsibility than that, and help you to grow and educate you. Because when I first started, there weren't a lot of degrees that kind of specialized in the strength conditioning side. Now there are, and there are universities that are phenomenal, and you can actually get specialized degrees in that. But yeah, finding the ones that will help you to grow, give you opportunity, give you time coaching with athletes, and reflections on that. And so I think it's just, yeah, with any career, like making sure you're putting yourself out there, getting that experience, putting the time in, and networking, talking to people, reaching out. Like, it's intimidating to reach out, but more often than not, like, people reach out to us, and yeah, we're gonna spend the time right back out again. Like, I want to contribute to the next generation, the next group that's coming through, and especially, female strength conditioning coaches. Like, I have a soft spot in my heart there. Like, I'm always trying to look out for them and be like, we want more of you in the career path. You're phenomenal coaches, and a lot of athletes really like to have a female perspective, and there's not enough of us out there. So yeah, reach out.
I love that because, I was just talking to I talk to students all the time because I help students with internships here at GCC, and I just let them know, like, be persistent. If someone turns you down, or you don't hear back from them, there's gonna be someone that's excited to bring you in and to give you skills that you don't have, and so I really love that you're a breathing example of that. And so I don't see any more questions in the chat. So I just want to say thank you so much to Tschana for taking time out of your busy schedule. Right before we hopped on, she said, I just came from the gym floor, and I imagine you're going right back out after this call. So I really appreciate the information and wisdom you've shared on your transformational journey from college to leadership. For our viewers, I hope you enjoyed today's discussion and that you'll join us at our next presentation, which Isel will wrap this up. And again, thank you.
Perfect. So yeah, if you're not already, we ask our viewers to please follow us on social media to get the latest updates on events, career tips, and presentations like we have today. You can find us at GCC Career Services on Instagram and GCC Career Services on Facebook. So with that, Tschana, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and it's been so awesome speaking with you today. So thanks again, and we all hope to see you next month at our next speaker series. Bye, everyone.
Thank you guys so much.